This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of May 17th to June 1st, 2025. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Brent Barrett.
I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And we are back. We have our Discord, as we always tell you about. It's free. The software is free. You can do it even in a web browser. You don't even need to download any software. But you can gain access with all the other listeners and start chatting about your genre TV shows and things. It's really fun. We also run polls, and we have a poll where we asked you guys, how much does the non-diegetic music in a TV series matter to you? In other words, the music that the audience hears but the characters don't, so typically or often referred to as a soundtrack. How much does that matter to you? And it looks like out of 22 votes, we got 23% of you saying that it usually influences your opinion of a show. 27% of you saying it can sometimes influence your opinion of a show, and 32% saying it rarely, if ever, influences your opinion. And of course, there's 18% who said they don't even notice the music. I don't know those people if they're even human, but that's what we have.
Pretty evenly split.
Well, that's interesting. I definitely notice the music, and it definitely influences me. Sometimes in a negative way, where it's like, oh, this music's really manipulative.
Yeah, you hear the music and you're like, oh, something bad's coming because it's bad music. It's got those notes that imply there's something bad happening. Yeah. Which
is a lot of fun to look at when you're doing closed captioning, because that's how they will tell you, ominous music playing.
Ominous music. Yeah. It's not so much that stuff as the frenetic music that it's like, it's creating tension that isn't really there sometimes, right. Which is more like, it's more like when they have the dissonant music where it's trying to create conflict, angst, anxiety, those kind of things.
Yeah. I'd say pretty close to half of people say at some point or another it influences them to some degree. So that's pretty important, I guess. Yeah. Interesting poll. We'll have more, so hop onto the Discord if you can. Check the link in the show notes for how to get on there. All right, and we're going to head on over now to the spoiler-free water cooler.
Do you enjoy movies where scripts and production values are ignored in favor of dudes in rubber monster suits chasing bikini beach girls? Is quality of gore more important than quality of acting? Then Junk Food Dinner wants you. Junk Food Dinner is an explosion of cult movie podcasting, devastating the internet with shrapnel made out of horror, action, and sci-fi flicks. Each week, your hosts bring a favorite movie to the show to swoon over and or hate on. Go to junkfooddinner.com to download some episodes now or search for it on iTunes.
First up on the water cooler, we have the quick reviews like we always do, where we go over the shows that were on the air since the last time we recorded a podcast, which means we are covering shows from May 17th to June 1st of 2025. And we got 3 episodes of Doctor Who, including the finale. So up first, we have Doctor Who, Episode 6 of Season 2, The Interstellar Song Contest, Episode 7 of Season 2, Wish World, and Episode 8, the finale of Season 2, The Reality War. I would give them in order: a low watch it soon, a watch it soon, and then a low watch it now for the finale.
Yeah, I think I'm similar to you. I went watch it soon, low watch it soon, and then low watch it now.
Yeah, watch it soon, low watch it soon, and low watch it now.
Yeah, pretty good. All right. We're going to talk about that in the back porch. Next up, we have The Last of Us, which we'll also talk about in the back porch. We have the last 2 episodes of this season, Season 2. Episode 6 of Season 2, The Price, and Episode 7 of Season 2, Convergence, which, again, as I said, is the season finale. I would give the next to last a watch it now, and I would give the last one, mostly because of something I'm going to mention in the back porch, a low watch it now.
I went high watch it soon and solid watch it soon.
I went high watch it now and low watch it now.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, everybody went down a little for the finale. We're going to have to talk about that. All right, we also have Surreal Estate, the Sci-Fi Channel or network show. Episode 8 of Season 3, Perchance to Dream. Episode 9 of Season 3, Grave Matters. I'm not watching.
We've got a low watch it soon and a let it sit.
And I'm not watching.
And Kevin may not be either soon. Based on those
one more episode. One more episode in the season, so I will be there.
Okay. All right. And a show that apparently is a pleasant surprise for people who are watching it, Murderbot. We have 2 episodes. Episode 3 of Season 1, Risk Assessment, and Episode 4 of Season 1, Escape Velocity Protocol. I guess I might have spoken too soon. We'll find out here how my co-hosts think about it. But I'm not yet watching it because I don't have Apple TV+.
Yeah, as I've been talking for several podcasts, several weeks, I finally jumped back into the Apple TV pool, got a subscription active again, mainly because of my anticipation for this show. So I did see these 2 episodes. I'd give them both a high watch it soon.
And I'm exactly in agreement. High watch it soon for both.
Excellent. Yeah, I might actually there might be enough critical mass built up for me to actually make getting Apple TV Plus worthwhile at this point.
Yeah, and I've been, I'll save it for when I finish the first season, but I'm about 2/3 of the way through season 1 of Severance, so I've been picking up on a lot of the Apple TV content.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward to hearing about that. And one of my favorite shows ever, Rick and Morty, is back. Hopefully Wendy's been able to watch it. I don't know, but there's been 2 episodes. Episode 1 of Season 8, Summer of All Fears, and Episode 2 of Season 8, Valkyric. Yeah, Valkyric. I really enjoyed both of these. I was trying to give them different ratings, but they both came out as a watch it now. I just loved them.
Oh, that's cool to hear, but not a show I watch.
That is cool to hear. I have not seen these yet. This one snuck up on me, but I will catch up.
Yeah, it snuck up on me too, but it appeared on my Hulu DVR, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is back. I'm watching it right now. Okay, and finally, we have The Librarians, the next chapter. We've had 2 episodes there so far. Episode 1 of Season 1, and The Deadly Drekavac. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. And Episode 2 of Season 1, and The Dance of Doom. I'd give the first one actually a high watch it soon. It was a good introduction. The second one, I'll just go with the regular watch it soon.
Matched my ratings exactly.
I have not seen these yet.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about some of that in the back porch, so stay tuned, but we have some more non-spoilery things. First up, we have a couple of voicemails. This first one and the next one are both from Scott on Cape Cod, but this one's he's talking about where we were looking for recommendations on Apple TV shows.
I was glad to hear Wendy's review of Murderbot. That, along with Foundation coming back in early July, will make me re-up with Apple TV. I'm also looking forward to the Steve Martin documentary on there. What else should I check out while I'm there? Wendy, you're the one that is subscribed there. Any suggestions? Also, I'm looking forward to the Old Guard 2 coming on Netflix. Old Guard 1 was really good, I thought. And even though I don't like zombie shows, I am enjoying The Last of Us. And I have to say, though, that I'm not a big fan of Ellie's character at this point. She treated Joel very poorly in the most recent episode because she said he was being selfish. But that's exactly what she is by following through on her vengeance quest.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for sending us some feedback about Apple Plus. I sent you an email, but I'm going to say again, I sent an email with the non-genre shows, and I was going to save the genre shows for our podcast. And I'll give folks a glimpse into what I like on Apple Plus non-genre. I highly recommend Loot, the comedy, and Slow Horses, which I've mentioned several times. And Bad Sisters and Lessons in Chemistry. For genre, I had mentioned this to Kevin. If you haven't watched Silo, definitely put that high on your list. I tried Severance, and I didn't stick to, I guess, the critical 4th episode in season 1, but I'm going to go back and try it again. I've mentioned before, I'm a big Foundation fan. I'm trying to get Kevin back onto the Foundation bandwagon after season 2, which I thought was really strong. There's a bunch of shows that didn't go past like a first season, like Invasion was one. So those, I struggle recommending shows that are going to be like that to people. But if the characters grab you, just understand that you're not going to get much more of it after that first season. But I definitely recommend Silo for sure, very high. And I think Kevin, I had told Kevin to watch The Gorge. I think he's going to talk about that too, which was really good. Monarch, which was the Godzilla universe, is really good. I have not watched Space Above and Beyond, which is an alt history, but it's on my list. It's just really low on the list. So thanks for calling in.
Space Above and Beyond was that a 90s show, right? So I think you're talking of something else. The alt history.
For All Mankind.
Yeah,
For All Mankind. Thank you.
I don't have Apple TV Plus, so maybe they're doing a restart of it or something.
No. Maybe they will eventually, but not yet.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the feedback, Scott. I am also, as you heard in the quick reviews, thinking that I might be reaching critical mass and looking for those recommendations myself. I'm glad you guys gave Last of Us a chance. I can't criticize you for your feelings about certain characters. I mean, I think we're going to talk about it in the back porch, but I'm wondering if the show is doing a disservice to people who aren't really familiar with the game, but we'll talk about that at that time. So thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, always awesome to hear from you, Scott. Very much so. My quick thoughts. The very first show that I wanted to watch on there wasn't even genre, and that was Ted Lasso. So I had a subscription back when that was active. So, if you haven't, by all means, highly recommended there for non-genre. And as a fellow Patriots fan, the Patriots documentary they have on there is like 10 episodes worth. Again, highly recommended there for you as a Patriots fan. As far as the genre content, like Wendy mentioned, I watched The Gorge, and we'll talk more about it later. Enjoyed it. The movie also as a movie, Fountain of Youth was entertaining. Shows, like Wendy said, and we talked about it previously in the podcast, Monarch was excellent. And I've started to watch Severance, and about 2/3 of the way through season 1. And again, I'll save it for when I'm done with season 1, but that has been a trip and a half. I'll just put it that way. So, but it's kept me entertained. So yeah, there's, that. And I know, as Wendy said, Silo's on my list. Dark Matter, not Brent's fave, but another show called Dark Matter with Jennifer Connelly, I believe.
Dang it.
Yeah, got to clarify that since they both have the same name. So yeah, there's some very good stuff there.
Yeah, Dark Matter is the other show that isn't continuing that I started watching that I don't recommend to people because of how it's kind of got the rug pulled out from under it.
All right. Well, Scott does have another voicemail, as I mentioned. This one, he wants to talk about filler episodes, and he's going to call out a show that we kind of loved around here.
One series that you guys didn't mention was Supernatural. I thought there were a lot of brilliant filler episodes that I wouldn't miss on a rewatch. In fact, a lot of them were some of the best episodes of the whole series. And rather than give a synopsis of each episode, I'll just name the titles, and anyone interested can look them up, and if they've seen them, will remember them for sure. So here we go. Yellow Fever, The French Mistake, Fan Fiction, Ghost Facers, Changing Channels, Scooby Natural. Those are some of the ones that stand out to me, but I know that there were many more of those that I can't put my finger on right now. Those are all filler episodes that are well worth the time.
Hey, thanks, Scott. I do recall in Supernatural that there were a lot of episodes that weren't very heavy in the arc, but I thought, Wendy can correct me if she remembers these episodes by name, but I thought there weren't too many true filler episodes. I thought there were a lot that were story of the week sort of things, or maybe even they tried a weird thing like a noir one. I think they did once, or even an animated one, but they still had tie-ins at some point, and they were still like dealt to some degree with the overall arc of the season. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were truly filler.
Yeah, I think that will come down to how each of us is defining filler. Because, I mean, the excellent point, Scott, in that there were some very entertaining, doing our air quotes, folks, filler episodes in Supernatural. Like you mentioned several there. Even I remember many of those from that list you just rattled off because they were very entertaining, even though they barely fit into the season arc of what was happening for some of them. So, I mean, for a show that ran as long as that one did, that could have gone off the rails as far as bad filler, but you got to give them props for coming up with some very creative stuff from the Scooby-Doo, like you said, Ghost Facers and fanfic and all that stuff. So excellent observation, though. That's one with a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah, I I don't remember why we didn't talk about Supernatural, but I think it does depend on your definition of filler versus, I would say, off template, because a lot of the episodes you talked about, they've fiddled around with the format in some way. I'm thinking of like Monster Movie, which was the black and white one, that had, oh shoot, what's his name? The shapeshifter who was like the Bela Lugosi kind of, he was always the monster. The French Mistake, but that was also like an homage. It was almost a parody of the show itself, or fan fiction. I think that's the one that introduced Chuck. So I think a lot of them, they did have a relevance to the overall arc in some way, or a lot of times they would explore something about the character impact of the story. I'm thinking about like the one where Dean goes into a World War II era submarine mission, or the one where he goes into the video game with Charlie. In some ways those could be fillers, but I kind of agree with Kevin. It's sort of what's your definition. But I certainly think Supernatural has done a great job of, flipping or dipping its toe into different styles in a lot of ways. Scooby Natural, that one probably was truly filler. I don't honestly remember anything arcish about that, but I only watched that probably once. So thanks for sharing all that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Scott. Anybody else who wants to send us feedback, please do so. We have many, many ways. Just visit our website. You can send us an email with a recorded message, or all sorts of ways to send us feedback. Now let's head on to some articles. And I think the best way to help Kevin deal with his trauma is to let him break the horrible news about one of his favorite shows.
Yes, if you haven't heard yet, The Wheel of Time has been canceled by Amazon Prime. Insert the Boo soundtrack here. The fact that they had not announced the next season by the time we got the recently aired season 3 finale was worrying, and the worries turned out to be very true. And they announced it just a few days ago as we're recording this that they would not be bringing it back. Grab the pitchforks, kind of stuff. It's just disappointing. I mean, this is a show that certainly for me and many others has just gotten better with each passing season. The most recent, season 3, was fantastic, I think. Certainly for a high fantasy show. Very compelling characters, lots of really digging from the book stuff to really bring it out. So it's just disappointing there. I mean, it's all business, of course. You read the details of the whys. The viewership numbers have dropped in the most recent season, even though quality was way up there. The viewership numbers weren't. And as is said around nowadays for any of the streaming services, whether big budget or not, 3 seasons is about a max you're going to get unless you get something really special. And with Amazon already having a crap ton, I do think that's an official word, of money put out towards the Lord of the Rings, they just couldn't maintain 2 very expensive high fantasy shows. So, all of the reasons make sense. It's just, as a viewer, passionate fan, quite disappointing. But, to his credit, Brent reminded me, since I've started my YouTube channel, that, hey, channel that energy. So I did. I put up like an 8 or 10 minute video just talking about how disappointed I was, and it's got almost 1,000 views already. So there's definitely a lot of other folks out there feeling some of the same ways. Although it has definitely brought out a lot of commenters who were big book fans who are glad it was canceled, because you got the folks who were so diehards to the books and it didn't match them exactly. They were cheering. So, hey, it's what happens with fandom, let's face it. But very disappointed the show has ended.
Yeah, I was very surprised and disappointed about this news. And I guess, I don't know, I'm definitely not inside the fandom at all, but Rosamund Pike made an interesting comment about, there was a lot of criticism from the hardcore book readers in the beginning, and it's kind of been an uphill battle since then. These are tough things to adapt, and that's part of the challenge of how do you hook people onto a complicated story with a lot of characters, and, you know, simplify, I'll say, in order to grab people and engage them into the story in the beginning without alienating they'll call them the originalists, from the original material. It's a tough thing to deal with. And I really did think that season 2 had improved significantly, and I thought the most recent season was fantastic. So it's very disappointing that we're not going to get more. I am glad that we didn't end on like a true cliffhanger, but obviously we didn't see the finish of the story. And I just hope it doesn't deter people from trying to tackle these kinds of properties in the future. But they might have to come up with, I would say, a story arc for, you know, many seasons, and what is going to hook the non book reader or the people who didn't consume the original property, the comic book or the video game originally, so that the audience will stick around. I also have a thought for a future Tuner Minute, because the very long breaks between seasons does not help these kinds of shows at all.
No, not at all. And maybe they'll start avoiding adaptations that involve a huge or a very large cast of characters, because that just adds to the cost. I don't know. But I feel bad about this. I feel bad. Wheel of Time wasn't one of my favorite shows, but I enjoyed it. And I also feel bad because maybe I'm one of the people that contributed to the low ratings, because it took me a long time to finish season 2. Not until after season 3 started, and then I'm not even quite done with season 3 yet. So I feel bad about that. But yeah, it sucks that it's going away. Kevin, I'm going to tell you that the commenters, who are the book people who are saying those sorts of things, they're just jerks. I mean, their view is, if it's not what I want, nobody should have it. That's just stupid.
Yeah, and it's, you know, not to go too far on a tangent, but it's been interesting for those who don't spend a lot of time on YouTube or look at a lot of comments on YouTube, and Brent is much more experienced even than I. Certainly a topic like this that had a lot of the book fans who were not liking what was put on screen has brought out a lot of commenters. Some of them have had some very interesting thoughts, I got to admit, you know, even if they were against the show or didn't like the show. And also, there was a recent comment, and no disrespect if this person is listening, although I doubt they are, who said they were glad it was canceled. Give it another year to 2 years. AI will be smart enough that they can then have AI create an exact duplicate of the books in video form. And I'm like, that's why it's called an adaptation, because it's not going to match exactly, folks. If the book is all you truly want, whether it's Wheel of Time or Stephen King stuff, then stick to the book. You know, it's that's what happens when you adapt something to a different medium. It's going to change.
That guy really loves fantasy. He lives in a fantasy world if he thinks AI can do that. and
I'm like,
besides,
wow.
And he lacks imagination. I mean, isn't that what books do? I mean, people who read books have imagination. You can picture it in your head. It plays out in your head in video form, inside your head. I mean, that's the whole point of imagination.
Yeah, and whether it's this or almost any other property we've seen adapted, especially from books, as almost every showrunner has said when they've had one of these, is books naturally go into characters' heads for chapters at a time. You can't do that in you know, video and TV. So you've got to find a different way to bring it across. But hey, it's interesting to see a lot of the thoughts. And again, there's a pretty good active amount of the fan base that are trying to, you know, the save WAT, Wheel of Time, hashtag on different social medias and all. But this is such an expensive show. I think the odds of it going to another provider are even less than some of other shows we loved sometimes that we hoped would hop, because it's just, talk about big bucks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's also kind of sad. As a fan, I definitely don't want to spend my time as a fan just hating on the thing that I supposedly love. That just doesn't feel like a good use of my energy.
No, because there were a lot of folks who found the show, and Rosamund Pike has been doing the audiobooks in the last couple of years. I think she's done like the first 4 or 5 books. There's like 14 or 15 in the series. So folks who are book fans are just ecstatic that, her voice and her skills have been brought to the audio book form, and it's brought in so many new people to enjoy the books because of the show. So it cross-pollinates in all directions there.
Yeah. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll listen to some audiobooks.
Maybe the Save campaign will at least get a 2 or 3 hour movie out of it to wrap it up. I don't know. Well,
the only thing is, again, you've got 15 books and you've only had 3 seasons. That's a heck of a lot of wrapping up.
True.
To fit into a movie, As you said, though, that's sometimes the real concern for these epic things that have got, 7, 10, 15 books. I mean, in a world where, streamers don't want to put money up for more than a few seasons, unless it's a mega hit, then the odds are it's going to end up getting truncated.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, moving from that tragedy to something we're all very hopeful for, which is Wednesday, Season 2. Wendy has got our news.
Yeah, so Netflix had the Tudum, however you pronounce it, and part of that was to share the first 6 minutes, which we have a link to, and it's very enjoyable and fun. And also a sneak peek, which is kind of a behind the scenes with a lot of the cast, which was really cool. I don't know if you guys watched part of the Tudum, but I watched it was like a 2-hour special that they put together, not the live stream, but later. And for me, the Wednesday piece was definitely a highlight. It's also the culmination at the end. And I'm just very much looking forward to this coming back soon. I don't really want to spoil anything, but even if you've seen the trailer that we talked about a couple weeks ago, a lot of that, some of those highlights are in that first 6 minutes as well. But definitely looking forward to this one. And that first 6 minutes will definitely get you excited about it.
Yeah, I really love this show. I did watch the sneak peek. I kind of resisted at first, the thought of watching the first 6 minutes, but I am a spoiler junkie, so maybe I will go watch that, especially with your recommendation that it's, put a smile on your face and get you ready for the series. So I'll probably go back and watch that one. But just as a reminder to folks who maybe not have listened last time we talked about it, this is coming to Netflix August 6th for the first part and September 3rd for the second part. So get ready.
Yeah, I watched, I was the sucker who watched the Tudum event live, and it was about 2 hours. So if you're watching the recording, Wendy, basically you're getting it all. With the ability to skip some of the boring parts, which there were plenty. But to their credit, they had an immense amount of celebrities from the movies and shows they're doing. So, man, they really top-notch talent. But as far as the Wednesday stuff, I didn't know, because when they had it on there, they just said it was going to be a scene or a clip or whatever. I didn't realize it was going to be 6 minutes long and the actual opening of the season. So, same way, I don't tend to want to see those of shows, but as Wendy said, it was definitely a smile across my face as what we saw was playing out. So it's like, oh, okay, man, we're going to have some fun this year. Not that we didn't last, but well done there. And then they had near the end of that Tudum event, Lady Gaga come out and sing the song with the whole entourage and everything else from Wednesday. She's going to be in the second part too. So that was very fitting done there. So they've definitely pumped up the promotion and all.
Yeah, the musical part was probably my favorite part, because they had the whole homage to season 1 and the dance that Wednesday did. And then Gaga sang the Abracadabra song, and I'll be curious. I think she's going to be a teacher or something. Is she going to be their music teacher or something? I'm not sure what her role is in season 2.
I think she'll fit in.
Oh, she'll totally fit in. The other nice thing was seeing all the cast, or most of the cast, on stage. The dialogue they wrote for them was very cringy and not natural. which was true for all of the guests that were on the Tidum stage, but the Wednesday was the least, I would say the Wednesday stuff was the least cringy. The kids from Stranger Things, I mean, they're not kids now. They're full-on adults. It was like, wow. I was going to say the
middle-aged people from Stranger Things, yeah.
Yeah, it was really actually a little bit of schadenfreude. It was like, who are you people? I don't even entirely recognize you. But it was nice to see clips from that as well. But Kevin, the beginning, I probably fast forwarded through the first 30, 45 minutes for sure.
I wish I could have.
You should have been live streaming, Kevin. You could have critiqued it, said, why is this so boring?
I did. I thought about it because you and I even touched on the idea of maybe, and then I went, let's just see what it's like. I mean, because I was the one who kind of bagged on them the last time they did their big event where they spread it out over days and had all these different hosts who were bad. At least this year I saw they had, someone who appeared to know what they were doing. But as Wendy said, unfortunately, the writing for the different things was and this is like bad Saturday Night Live stuff.
Well, it was also very random. Like they had the whole cast from Knives Out, which is a murder mystery series. And you have Daniel Craig, who's the star, come out and he rambled for like a minute or two about something. And then the rest of the people came out with t-shirt cannons and all they did was pop t-shirts into the audience and then leave. It's like, you brought all these people here for that? It just seemed like such a waste of the star power. But anyway, go check out the Wednesday 6-minute thing. It doesn't feel like 6 minutes. In fact, when Kevin shared the link to the 6 minutes, I was like, oh, that wasn't 6 minutes long, but it was. And it's a whole complete piece too, which sometimes you get a couple of minutes and it's like, what am I seeing? But this is a complete thought, I'll say.
They don't leave you mid-scene, huh? Okay.
No.
Cool. I'll check it out after the show. All right. I've got some news about Gen V. Gen V was that spinoff from The Boys on Amazon Prime, and we've got a season 2 teaser trailer online. Gen V is returning September 17th. The teaser trailer kind of showed the same thing that Gen V was, and the universe of The Boys is. So nothing new here, nothing shocking. Just a lot of the returning characters from Gen V. I don't know that we're going to get this really. It may or may not spoil because I'm pretty sure it's been a long time. I think you need to write that 200-minute, Wendy, because it's been a long time since Gen V was on. I can barely remember, but I remember it ended with some kind of dramatic thing happening at the end of Gen V, and I don't know that this spoils or doesn't spoil what the resolution of that was. But September 17th, Amazon Prime, Gen V Season 2.
Yeah, as we've said, it's been a while, but I remember really enjoying that season, so there was a little bit of jog my memory kind of approach to it, but it worked well, and it looks like we've got some epic stuff happening, which is good because that's going to pick up where they kind of left us. So the trailer did its job, and I'm very pleased it's coming, pretty quickly, at least in the way we tend to get these announcements of things that don't come for 8-12 months. So knowing it's only September, that's big thumbs up.
So the funny thing is when Kevin sent the email with this link, I read it as Gen 5, and I'm like, did I ever watch this show? And then I opened up the link, and I immediately recognized the characters and what it was. So I thought it was funny when Brent was talking about remembering what had happened last, and they did hint at where things left off and were getting picked up in this. So definitely did its job. I'm looking forward to it. Although September does feel a little distant to me.
I guess that means I'm part of Gen 10. I'm a Gen Xer. Get it? Get it? No, never mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, time for the puns on Gen.
All right. Well, moving on. Kevin, you've got some news about, we mentioned it earlier, Stranger Things.
Yes, finally, we get the dates. And again, plural dates for the final season, Stranger Things 5. And insert all of the jokes here about, the cast and the fact that now, going after their doctorates or whatever else because of how long it's been. Season 1 aired in 2016, folks. That's going to be 9+ years between season 1 and season 5. But for those who are just waiting to find out when we're going to get to see it, as part of the TDM event, they did have a date announcement video, which had maybe 20 seconds worth of new content in there. There is a little bit. I've already watched a couple analysis videos, so there's enough there to speculate on. But the main job of this short video was to let us know that it's going to come technically on 3 dates. It starts on November 26th, which is the day before Thanksgiving here in the U.S. Then the next set drops on Christmas Day, 12/25. And the finale, I think the last episode itself, will come on New Year's Eve, 12/31. From some of the info I've seen, not official yet, but we have seen the titles of the episodes. I believe it's 9 episodes or 8. I've lost count. So they're saying that we'll get like 4 of them there on the November date, then 3 on Christmas, and then the last episode, which is rumored to be about 2 hours long on New Year's. So glad we finally have the dates. Going to be epic. I'm already planning my full series rewatch because I'm a big fan, even though it's kind of waned as we've had so much time between seasons. But should be some epic stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Although the hype material was a lot of the past, I didn't see that much that was going to be the new stuff that we hadn't already seen. So I guess I was expecting a little bit more of the new stuff in there. But it did bring up some wonderful memories of some prior seasons that were really good. Because of how much time has passed, I definitely am going to have to go back and rewatch, maybe not entirely, but at least the last 3 or 4 episodes, so I know kind of where we were. And I am glad we have the actual dates now. That's definitely a positive.
Yeah, I'm really glad we finally have the dates on this as well. And splitting it in 3 seems like unnecessary torture, but I'll probably get used to it and just fine. But as we've said many times, it actually is kind of nice to have these instead of everything dropping at once, having it dropping in at least a couple of chunks so that people can talk about it in between. So I think that'll happen a lot for Stranger Things. But yeah, 9 years, wow, jeez. They're like 12 when the show started. They're like 21 when it ends. Their characters, I mean. So, wow. And it shows. Yeah, looking forward to it. I don't know if that I have to go back and rewatch everything, but I might want to touch up a little bit, just maybe watch the finale of the last season just to make sure I remember where they left off. But I'm sure they're going to do a time jump of some sort.
Yeah, I think some of the info that's come out on that is that it's going to be like 18 months after the end of the last season, in show time to be able to do it. And I do agree, Brent, again, and showrunners have mentioned that this season is going to have much longer episodes, so, a lot more content. So splitting it up, I know I'll appreciate that, get a chance to digest it better, rewatch it, watch some maybe reactors or folks who are doing excellent analysis of it. Might just help to really be able to have a little time between them. And they're being smart doing it around the holidays here, especially when more folks might be, have some time to watch some things or be able to watch with family or friends. And one last thing, I'm just pulling up the link to put in the show notes, kind of touch on what Wendy alluded to. The video, the trailer, if you will, as she said, is, 3/4 already seen footage that we have. But the folks at Screen Crush, the YouTube site, which is an excellent analysis site for genre content, did a great job of pointing out how the older clips that they used appears to lead to what is happening in the later clips and what it might mean story-wise. So it was, if that's the case, then they did a very good job of kind of tying things together. So I'll throw a link in there if you're the type who likes to dig deep. It's about a 30-minute video but some good insights.
Cool.
Yeah, excellent. All right, moving on. Another Netflix release is a little bit of a first look at One Piece, and Wendy's got that.
Yeah, so One Piece is a show that I did not watch. So, and again, I was watching the Tudum, so I saw this as part of that as well. And people went crazy for the Chopper character that is the primary focus of this video. And we don't get a specific date for season 2, just that it's coming in 2026 sometime. And based on the comments that I see around the video, the response to this character is that it is exactly, the way that people had imagined the character would be. So that was part of the reason why Chopper got such a great reaction. It's very cute, I will say that, but I don't know anything about the character. The funny thing for me was when it said Chopper, I was immediately thinking of the droid from Rebels, and it's nothing like that.
Nothing like that. Cute little rodent type character. Yeah, cute, but I also got the impression watching this, I don't know anything about the show much at all, or nothing about this character for sure. Got the impression at the end, especially when the character, everybody's applauding and the character was like, "Shut up, I don't need your clapping." I get the impression the character could have kind of a dark side too, so maybe he's just cute on the surface, or she, I don't know what the gender is. Cute on the surface, but maybe down underneath there's something there. Maybe the people who know the source material can tell us, but yeah, it does look, it looks entertaining. I don't know anything about One Piece though, so haven't been watching.
Yeah, like you folks, One Piece is something that I've heard some very good things about, and it did have on my list, but have not gotten to season 1. So, but there seemed to be a lot of good buzz around the show, and at the Netflix Tudum event, they had most of the cast there, and it seemed a lot of folks were very excited and cosplaying about the characters from it. So, a chance to see a little bit of what's happening there. But like you both said, no context on what this actually means.
All right, moving on. I've got a link to a joint BBC Disney Plus announcement. It's a teaser trailer for a show called The War Between the Land and the Sea. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. This is the Doctor Who spinoff that Russell T. Davies is working on, or has worked on. I guess they've got the actual footage that they're showing in this teaser trailer. It's essentially, from what I understand, the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, or UNIT, versus ancient species of Earth. The other species before humans came to dominate the Earth, and there's some sort of a epic war gonna wage between the land and the sea. But we don't have a date on it. It's just coming soon. It's got some familiar faces from Doctor Who. I don't believe the Doctor is planning on being in it at all. There might be a companion or two, since there are some working for UNIT. Who knows? But definitely the head of UNIT there. She's definitely visible in this teaser trailer, so we definitely going to have some kind of a connection to Doctor Who. So I am actually, cautiously optimistic, looking forward to it. Like I said, coming soon. We don't have a date.
Yeah, this trailer did just enough, again, recognizing the folks and the people and the context, as you said, Brent, to say, oh, this could be interesting, but yeah, we got no date, and it's a little more than some alien species, some characters we know from Doctor Who, and, a little bit of a tease. So in that sense, it at least made me aware of it, and we'll just have to wait to see when we find out when we're going to get to see it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I definitely like the actor who looks like he's going to be one of the central characters, who was in Being Human, and he also was in, I want to say it was at least in Torchwood, but he might have been in main Doctor Who also. And I love Kate, the leader of UNIT. Hopefully she'll have her cutie boyfriend with her too in the show, which was some sweet in the regular Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I will check it out.
Now, Kate and that guy aren't technically together. We didn't see them actually get together, Wendy, but yeah. I think he was the, if I'm not mistaken, the werewolf in the UK Being Human. Yep,
he was. Yep.
And I think he was in the main Doctor Who. He was the one that David Tennant introduced Captain Jack to. David Tennant's doctor had met him on the Titanic, I think. that episode and introduced.
Oh,
Captain
you're right.
Jack to
I
him.
knew I remembered him with Jack and
Yeah.
Torchwood. I didn't remember him on the
I don't think he was ever in Torchwood.
Christmas special.
Yeah, but it definitely looks intriguing enough that I want to see it. All right, we talked, did quick reviews of The Librarians, the next chapter, but Kevin's got a couple links for it.
Yeah, if you've enjoyed the first couple of episodes, or you'd like to go a little deep on your shows, then these are links you might want to check out, folks. The first one is an interview with showrunner Dean Devlin, about 14 minutes long. It's an excellent interview, talking a little bit about the show and how it came together, and the fact that, obviously the concerns of having already had a very successful and greatly loved first edition of The Librarians and how you kind of work with that, but also some of what went into casting for them to be able to do that. A little bit about how he's worked so closely with John Rogers, who has written and been a producer with him on other stuff, and the collaboration the two have. And he also talks a bit in here about how the show came to move networks. As you may recall, when we first heard about the show, it was going to be on the CW, and then all of a sudden the CW pulled it from the schedule, and then TNT was announced as not only where it was going, but also the TNT was going to give it 2 seasons at a minimum. So he talks a little bit about how odd that was, but also from his relationship, since, for those who aren't aware, along with Librarians, he's done Leverage and some other stuff. So this is someone who's had a good deal of experience with different networks. So I found it to be a very good interview, very enjoyable, not as much fluff as you will sometimes get when a new show is out, as you know. Sometimes this is some good, meaty stuff in this particular link. And the other one I put in here, again, if you're someone, as I said, who likes to go deep, they're doing an after show, if you will, kind of like a behind-the-scenes one for The Librarians, the next chapter, which they also, when I say they, I mean Dean Devlin's production company, which is known as Electric Now, which also actually has its own app and online service showing the Dean Devlin shows, things like The Ark and The Outpost and Leverage and Librarians, the original, and this one. But they do have an after show. And I watched the first 2 episodes, to correspond to the first 2, episodes of the season. And there's some good stuff in here. The production value of the after show itself, it's a little stilty, not exactly the best production quality in the world, but the content is excellent because they talk to all of the actors that are in this. They also talk with some directors, with Dean. They talked about costuming, about props. So the quality of what's covered for someone who, if you enjoy a show, want to know a little more about it, is definitely very rich. So that's only available on their website, though. It doesn't appear to be like in on-demand for whatever cable provider you might have. But the link is in the show notes where you can go to their website. It seems like each Tuesday after the episodes drop on Monday, you can watch these after shows, which so far, the first 2 have been like 45, 50 minutes. So there's some good meaty stuff there to be able to learn a little more. And especially for something like this, for me, hoping the show is good. I don't want to have to hope it's as good as the original. That's just not a fair comparison. But, I think we're off to a good start.
Well, I haven't seen the 2 episodes. I did watch the Dean Devlin interview. I didn't watch the after show one because I haven't seen it. But I am glad that they are doing some in-depth behind-the-scenes stuff, especially on a show like this where you have historical or fiction artifacts. It's just a fun aspect of the show itself, and the work that goes into crafting those kinds of props or the backstory for things is always really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have this after show. After shows are good. I tend not to watch them too much because I don't want to get too many. Like, I think we had a Tuna Minute about this a long time ago where Wendy even talked about this on some show where she talked about, if a showrunner needs to explain the show, then they're doing something wrong or something like that. That's kind of the way I feel about it. I'll watch the after show of something I really love a lot, of course, but on most of them I tend to avoid them. But it's good that they're there. Absolutely good that they're there. And Dean Devlin does have an interesting story to tell about, the history of the shows he's been on, but more importantly, what happened to this show. So that's really cool. So good links. All right, moving on. Talked about the librarians. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones, or at least the Game of Thrones universe with Wendy.
Yeah, so an update on a show we've been talking about for a while, which is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is going to be the next Game of Thrones spin-off series. We currently have House of the Dragon coming up on season 3, and we know it will end after season 4. So previously, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms was supposed to come out in 2025. Now they're saying 2026. That it might only be just a couple of months. There was some vague comment about it'll be winter, so either that means maybe January, February of 2026, or it could mean the following November, December. Not clear. And no explanation was given as to why it was pushed. So, speculate as you will on that. We also heard that George R.R. Martin has finally admitted he's not going to finish writing the books, Winds of Winter, which people have been waiting for about maybe it's 10 years now, is never coming. So he finally admitted he's not going to finish the books.
Which comes as no surprise to pretty much everybody who was paying attention.
Yeah, no, yeah. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, I read these. These are short graphic novels. They're very much in the sort of medieval world. It's literally about, a knight and the potential heir to the throne, Egg. This is based on Tales of Duncan Egg. Egg is Aegon. And it's a very medieval story to me. It didn't have a whole lot of the supernaturally part of Game of Thrones or some of the more interesting lore type stuff in Game of Thrones for me anyway. So, others might be disappointed about the news on this date, but I'm not really affected by it.
So the description of this sounds like something in the Game of Thrones universe I might actually enjoy. It sounds like it's going to be less about politics and backstabbing and powers that be fighting and vying for control, and more about following this knight and his squire who's got a future. So that sounds interesting. It's going to take place between the two shows, according to this, and I take it that means there won't be any dragons, right? Because the dragons went away and then they came back in Game of Thrones. So that's going to be interesting. Like you said, less of the supernatural stuff. It might be something I'd be more into. It's sounds like it's more of a pure fantasy, setting sort of thing about a knight and a squire and their adventures. Sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I've been paying close attention to, other than, as us keeping an eye on some of the news and knowing Wendy will have some insights. But the fact that we're getting at least a much more narrow timeline for when we might be getting it is helpful for the reasons that we're saying, is once we get a trailer or two to see if it's something that might spark an interest to be worth checking out.
Yeah, the story is much more about all the jousting that goes on and how tournaments work. And I'm sure there will be some politics, little p, how people deal with each other, because you still have these houses that are competing, and there are Targaryens, but there aren't any dragons. But there's also probably some relatives of some of the other people or royal families that from Game of Thrones. But it's much more kind of a medieval type story to me than, there's definitely no dragons.
Well, if instead of horses they just got a squire who's using coconuts, then I'm in. Wonder how many all of our audience got that joke. Never mind. I was going to say, I wonder how many got it. I'm sure they all did. All right. Now, Kevin, you're going to give us some spoiler-free review of some new or some shows that are premiering, brand new one and a returning show.
That's correct. We have got coming up here shortly after we release this podcast The season 4 premiere of Resident Alien, and then the week after the premiere of the new show on Revival, both of these on Sci-Fi. And I got a chance to check out the first episode of each, screeners from Sci-Fi. And just for those who might not be aware, Sci-Fi embargoes, doesn't want you to share any spoilers until the actual air date. So I can't give you plot stuff here, but I thought I'd give you at least a couple of minute quick thoughts. Resident Alien is a show that I've greatly enjoyed. This is one with each passing season, I think it's just gotten funnier and funnier. They're doing a great job. So I was very much looking forward to seeing this one. Now, again, without being spoilery, if you're not aware, or even for those who are watching, there was a big, plot item happened at the end of the last season with Harry and all. So they jump right back in on that. But I enjoyed the episode, absolutely. We're picking up with the storylines and the characters we know and got some new twists coming in. I will admit, and it'd be interesting to hear everyone else's thoughts once they get a chance to watch it. I thought maybe the first half of this episode wasn't up to the comedy level that Resident Alien has been, I think, certainly the last couple of seasons, if not all their episodes. But the second half was, for me, several knee-slapping moments. I mean, the deadpan stuff, Alan Tudyk is wonderful with. So overall, an excellent episode, if a bit of a slow burn or slow build-up to enjoy it. So can't wait to see where we're going to go this season with it. And then the new show, Revival, if you're not aware, again, just from stuff in the trailers here, we've got a situation where in a small town, mid-America kind of thing, a situation where they have a good chunk of folks who died within a small 2-week window of time in one town all come back to life. Don't use the zombie word because that's really not what's happening in the show, but they're considered, revived or revivers. And you've got the situation of they're not decayed or anything like that. You can look to the person next to you and you don't even know if they were someone who was revived. So you can imagine that kind of a situation, that leads to all kind of issues and concepts of discrimination, and people that don't want to deal with anyone who's come back, and you don't always know whether or not they've come back. So this one certainly caught my and many people's attention because the star of this show is Winona Earp herself, Melanie Scrofano. So I'm intrigued. Watching the first episode, I put up about a 10-minute video on YouTube, again with a little more spoiler-free thoughts than I'll share here. But you've got several big things that are happening naturally in the first episode, laying out the world and all, and it's got a little bit of humor to it. And you've got an interesting family dynamic. So I'm definitely on board to want to learn more about where this is going to go. So kudos to the folks who created the show, that they've certainly got me on board, even if Melanie wasn't a part of it.
Oh, that's nice to hear. When I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, I've seen this before. I'm curious what the weirdness level is of it, or the creepy level we have with the revived characters. Are they odd? Did they, as part of Buffy saying, did they come back wrong? Do you have a sense for that? Or maybe you're embargoed to say.
I don't think it's spoiler to say, because I think it's in some of the promotional photos and a video that they've put out, that it's all over the board. There is not just one type of revival situation.
Aha. Interesting. Well, I'm thrilled to hear that Resident Alien is back and funny and has a good setup, too.
Well, until you least suspect it, then all the revivals are going to turn and eat the brains of everybody near them.
Dun, dun, dun. If that happens, it must be episode 2.
Yeah, I'm spoiling it. See, I'm not held to that embargo. So, no, I'm glad Resident Alien is still funny. Well, that's the big thing you always worry about with that show. And the trailers have shown that it's been a little while, so the kids have grown up a bit. The revival show, I'll take you at your word, Kevin. I totally believe you and trust you that even if Melanie wasn't involved, that you're sold on it. But I'm kind of like with Wendy, and when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, I've seen this show many times. They've done this show where people come back from the dead so many times. There's got to be something really special here, or else it's just doing the same thing that other shows have done, and I've already seen it.
And that's what's going to be very interesting, Brent. Like I said, I think they do a good job in the first episode. Like you said, this is a concept we've seen similar things in many shows. So it's going to be, how do you work in this universe? Are there going to be characters I care about? Is it going to lean heavily into the societal side of it and people not wanting to deal with them, but not realizing some of them are revived and some aren't, So yeah, it's all in how they're going to play it out, very honestly. So, it might go downhill quickly, or it might become, very intriguing quickly. Well, we're going to have to see.
You'll have to answer this. Maybe it's not spoilery. Maybe it is. Do they touch on the topic of how difficult it will be to come back to life after all of your bank accounts and creditors have decided that you're dead?
That was not addressed in the first episode. I will say that.
Because I imagine that'll be very difficult. Imagine. I mean, about the horror stories of people who've been wrongly pronounced dead. The word gets through to the financial systems that this person is dead when they're not, and all of a sudden all their accounts are shut down and everything.
Yep. No. And the fact that this is very much set in a small town, not tiny town, but a small town or a small area that's impacted, can lead, I think, very much to some of that situation. If it's someone who wasn't part of a family that could assist with finances, what happens? What if the house you lived in is now someone else is living there? What are you going to do? So, there's a good number of people who are in this scenario. It's not just like 5 or 10. It's like more than 50. So there's going to have to be many levels of stories there, I think.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, to wrap up our Tuner Minute this week, to wrap up our water cooler this week, we'll have a Tuner Minute. This one is recorded by Kevin, and it's entitled Cutting One Genre a Break.
We've had some great conversations on the podcast and on Discord, talking about how we each have our favorite genre or subgenre of sci-fi and fantasy shows. Everybody has their faves. But if you can put aside your favorite for a minute, I'm curious, when you're watching a certain type, whether it be apocalyptic or just action-adventure, or horror, or maybe comedy, whatever it might be, when it comes to you rating a show in that area, do you have different levels based on the genre it's in? Does that impact your thought on things? Are you more likely to enjoy, say, an action-adventure show, even if its quality, comparing apples to apples, is a little lower than what you might see in a different genre? I'm curious how much that subgenre and what you expect out of it is going to impact your enjoyment of what you're seeing there.
Well, this is an interesting question, and I think mine is based on actually if the show is a comedy, regardless of genre. So it could be, Resident Alien, or it could be What We Do in the Shadows, right? But they're both comedy. I think I give those more of slack than anything in terms of the other pieces of it, meaning like what the production value is like, or, some of the characters, whether they're likable or not. I think I cut comedies maybe the broadest in terms of, being, I'll call it thin in terms of either, high quality sets, production value, a very compelling storyline, because it's humor. It's like, if it makes me laugh, that kind of trumps all of the other factors that I often, I'll say, assess a show against.
I'm trying to think really hard about this, Kevin, but I think my honest answer is I don't think I give any genre a break or cut it some slack or however you want to say it. There are, obviously, I have a favorite. Everybody knows I love time travel. Everybody who's listening to the podcast knows I love time travel stories. And so I get more excited about them. I get more excited about wanting to see them. But when it comes down to ratings, reviews, recommendations, I don't think I give even my favorite. I don't think I give even my favorite slack. I would recommend, to me, it's entertaining. Whether or not it entertains me, right? If a show entertains me consistently, whether it's a drama or comedy, space-based sci-fi, time travel, I don't care. I'm going to give it a good review. I'm going to recommend it. I can't think of an example in searching my memory over the last couple of minutes here of, which of course is hit and miss. I mean, probably are examples I can't think of, but I can't think of one where I've given a genre a break or cut it some slack. To me, it all boils down to whether or not it entertains me. Yes, I do give it a break when it comes to my anticipation of it. That's on the front end, right, before I even see it. But on the back end, after I've seen it, no, I think it has to earn it. It has to entertain me.
Interesting thought I hadn't considered there, Brent, the idea of the anticipation of it, because it might be one you greatly enjoy. That's an interesting look at it. I mean, what really got me to do this 2 in a minute is the fact that, we'll talk a little more in the back porch, the Fountain of Youth movie that's kind of an adventure style. I don't want to say it's, Indiana Jones quality, but that idea, a bit of an adventure to find something and so forth, action adventure. Those type, I realized that, for the most part, I really enjoy those, whether they're, high quality Indiana Jones or like the first couple of Librarians movies, were similar to that. There've been several other, less expensive movies of that style. And I'm thinking back and I almost always, The Mummy and some of those other ones, I almost always enjoy those types. So those I definitely, and as Wendy pointed out, you can have production values a little lower, the acting that's not quite as good, or the star power in one. But, put it as an action adventure and for me anyway, odds are pretty good. I'm going to enjoy it to a pretty good degree that way. So that's why I didn't know if other folks might have others they had that same soft spot for.
All right, folks. Well, let us know what your thoughts are on this. Is there a genre that you give a break or cut some slack for after the fact? One that you enjoy more just because of what it is. Let us know. And now let's head on over to the spoiler-filled back porch. Today we talk about The Last of Us, The Gorge, The Fountain of Youth, Doctor Who, and The Librarians, The Next Chapter. First up on the back porch, Wendy's going to talk about the Season 2 finale, final 2 episodes really, of The Last of Us.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into a ton of plot details, but the penultimate episode, The Price, this was the backstory that we didn't get, the time between the 5 years of what had been going on with Joel and Ellie. And I thought this was just a beautiful episode. It really did kind of harken back to what we saw growing in season 1 in terms of their relationship. And then, her going through her awkward teen years. I really liked that they used this device of showing her birthdays and, the first birthday cake Joel got for her, her name isn't even spelled correctly by the person who did it, and that it improved. We also got the answers to some of the questions that we'd talked about. The big one being, when did Ellie figure out what Joel had done at the hospital, and how did she learn of this? And it turns out Joel never did confess it directly to her, but she guessed it and confronted him about it. And the reason that she did that was because of Eugene, who was the husband of the psychiatrist. And when Joel lied to her about, lied to Ellie that he wasn't going to kill Eugene, she recognized that look on his face from when he had a similar look after they came out of the hospital when he said he promised that he wasn't lying. And she's brutal because Joel kills Eugene, doesn't want to take him back to the Jackson to see his wife because he's infected, and he just doesn't want to take that risk. And Ellie wants to give him that, and he wants to get some comfort from his wife, dealing with his situation. And Joel takes that away from him. And she's so angry about it that she tells the psychiatrist, Joel's lying to you, because he put together a comforting story. and then she's told the brutal truth in a very nasty way by Ellie, to drive a stake into Joel, basically. So we got some, what to me were important little blanks filled in that episode, but most of it, I just really enjoyed them having, moments of happiness. The best part for me was the whole sequence when he takes her to the science museum and she goes into the space capsule, and he went out of his way to bring her these really special moments of, he finds a tape and she's listening on a Walkman to the actual liftoff of this exact mission. So, he was really meticulous about that. He makes her a guitar. It was really beautiful when he sings this song to her, which is a song that she later sings to Dina. So I thought that was all really beautifully put together and executed. And then we go into our last episode, which is now seeing Ellie, with Dina, but they're trying to escape out of this place. They finally find Abby. They go through a lot, get reunited with Jesse and Tommy. And I think Scott mentioned this briefly on his voicemail, talking about the selfishness of Ellie. And in a lot of ways, it mirrors Joel's, because, at this point, other people are dying because of her quest for vengeance. We run into these horrible people in Seattle between the wolves and the I'll just call them the cult. And, Ellie barely just basically gets lucky that she doesn't get gutted. And it was a really powerful scene when this little kid, this little boy, is the one giving this signal to his mother of, we're just going to kill her now. No attempt to have any sort of conversation about who she is or why she's there. And then, Dina had been shot with an arrow in her leg earlier, and Jesse has to push it through her leg, which was horrible. But he also starts to suspect that she's pregnant because she won't take any alcohol for the pain. And it was a great moment, actually, where Ellie and Jesse have been sort of rivals with each other because of Dina. And in the past, they were, more like more friendly, more partners. And they have a great moment where, Jesse's talking about how he could have run off with this girl that he had a spark with, but he knew that, these are the people that took him in, and he owed it to stay there. He knows that he has a place in this community. And they sort of mend their rift because he admits, if something happened to him, Ellie would, move heaven and earth to rescue him. And then he gets killed by Abby, who finds them. And Ellie had previously killed the other two, and I'm forgetting their names, but the one who's pregnant who inadvertently gets shot by the bullet that goes through the male. That was a little bit much for me, that this person is trying to get her to take the baby out of her and do surgery on her. That was like, yeah, this is kind of, I don't know if this is some heavy-handed foreshadowing coming for Dina, because I haven't seen the video games. But at the end, we have Jesse dead, and, he's really a casualty that is really sad because he's one of the good people. And we end on this apparent cliffhanger of Abby and Ellie face to face, probably, going to shoot her point blank or something like that. And that was sort of the end. So it was kind of a jolting end and a little bit disappointing, because this whole season has been, or a huge part of it has been, this idea of finding Abby. And we didn't get much of an actual sort of conflict confrontation between the two. Maybe that will come in the next season.
Oh, it will come in the next season. The next to last episode, absolutely amazing. I would rank it as my favorite episode of the season. Might even be my favorite episode of the entire series so far. I don't know, but it's definitely up there. I loved getting all the backstory and understanding what was happening. It was very emotional. That discussion on the porch at the end, I was in tears. I mean, it was really good stuff when Joel, Pedro Pascal did such a great job. But when Joel almost cracks when he tells her that he loves her, he did it because he loves her. Oh man, I just started crying. Really great episode. Just absolutely adored it. The final episode had a lot of good stuff in it. I think it was a little too fast paced. I'm gonna agree with Kevin in a way, because on our live show, I'm not sure, but somewhere he mentioned as well that I think it was in our Discord actually that he enjoyed the next last episode, but why he spent so much time on it. I was fine with spending time on it, but if the result of that was having to rush through the final episode, I would have maybe preferred a little more time on that. Even though the final episode was longer than most episodes, it was just over an hour. It still felt a little rushed. And there were some bits that I don't think we really needed, like the bit with, as you say, the cult, the scars or whatever they call them, with those guys capturing Ellie and then letting Ellie go when their forces were under attack. Did we even need that? I would have rather spent more time doing something else. But there was some powerful stuff in at the end. Ellie deciding, we should go back. I'm done doing this. This isn't what I want to do. And because she knew that they killed Joel, but she didn't really know why. Yes, she knew what Joel had done because we saw that in the flashback. But once she found out that the reason Abby came and killed Joel was because Joel killed her father, that kind of soured Ellie a bit on it. And she decided to, kind of agree with Tommy and Jesse and just let's go back. And unfortunately, things changed. They're taken out of her hands because she's just killed 3 of Abby's friends. But Abby wants a little vengeance again. And like you said, ends up killing Jesse just flat out. And Tommy is wounded. And who knows what will happen. And then the final second of it with I love the line, a great line from Abby. I saved you and you wasted it. And then, raises a gun. And Ellie's like, no, wait. And then we get a flash. And those who have played the game, I have bad news for you guys. It's not spoilers, but I have bad news for you guys who might think that the show wanders a little bit. Probably the first 3 episodes of next season, we will not see Ellie at all, or Tommy. It's going to all be Abby. We're going to be following Abby's life in Seattle and everything that builds up to that moment where the season ended, where she's got the gun pointed at Ellie. And then we'll pick up from there. But that's what they meant by at the end of this, when it showed Abby in the past getting up and then it's saying Seattle day 1. That coincides with Ellie's day 1 when she and Dina arrived in Seattle. So we're going to follow it all from Abby's perspective, which might not be the best thing, the smartest thing to do for non-game players. I know a lot of game players have talked about it. Even the game players are split. Some of them never liked playing as Abby. Some of them liked the idea to play as Abby because the game made you basically follow Abby, exactly what the show's doing. Just play as Abby leading up to that same confrontation. But if the end of season 3, is going to be the end of game 2, then at least we're going to get some kind of resolution out of it. That's why I liked the one before the final episode better than the final episode. Just because I think that was kind of a dumb move on their part. I don't think they should have done that. Just like I didn't think they should have necessarily killed Joel, just because it was in the game. But they decided they're sticking to their guns. They're doing it exactly like they did the game. So we'll see how that plays out. I have this fear that after the first episode of next season, when people realize they're not going to be talking about Ellie and we're not going to be seeing Ellie, that the ratings might just tank from people who don't play the game, who don't know what's happening, who don't understand it, don't get it. And that would be really sad if that happens, but it might happen. I also it was interesting. I watch a lot of reactors who've also played the game, and I was watching some reactors leading up to the episode before the next to last episode where we had the big flashbacks sequences, and they were actually commenting by the time that episode before aired. They were saying, "Where are the flashbacks? Where are the flashbacks?" Because in the game, all of those flashbacks you got in that next to last episode were happening interspersed with gameplay. So they were wondering what it was, and that all happened in one episode, and they all loved it too. So I just adored it. I adored that one, and I think it was a pretty good finale. I'm just a little nervous about next season now and how the non-game players will react to it.
And that's a really interesting point, Brent. I mean, as you said, I thought that next to last one very well made, excellent acting. I was interested in it, meaning knowing more about their time together there at the compound and all. But with a season that only had 7 episodes, spending an entire episode on that just seemed to me, as the non-game player who wasn't looking to have that emotional hit, like, I'm not sure we need this much time. And then, as you said, the last episode, I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's interesting. I mean, Scott mentioned in his voicemail, and I've seen other people too who say if they're watching the show, and again, don't have a connection to the source material, that, it's hard to appreciate or like Ellie based on some of the things she's done and the way she, goes after things, which I get. So I'm okay with that. But like you said, if it's now going to switch POVs to Abby, who I barely know, I will not want 3-4 episodes of just her perspective. I don't care that much about her. So, yeah, they will definitely be losing me, and most likely losing me, at least in the sense of not enjoying it, not that I might not stick with watching it. So I guess we'll have to wait to see. But this is a show that I've liked. I don't think I've liked it as much as some other folks or many other folks who talk about it with no background on it, again, because it's, got some interesting bits and some good acting, but, it's just a show I enjoy and look forward to. So, but as we talk about so often in some of our news items and the way TV streaming works nowadays, I mean, what are we looking at? 18 months, 2 years before we get that season anyway. So by then, I'll be curious how interested I still am in it.
I think they already filmed it. I think they filmed it coincidentally with this one, right?
Oh, well, if that cuts down on the time between them, that might help. But if it's let's build up to it, and they still spend another, 16 months till we get there, that might harm it. See, it's interesting for me, not that it would ever happen, but as the non-game player, I might be more interested in the Abby perspective if I got to see it right away. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost as if we
right.
cut quickly to it rather than sitting, anticipating, wanting to know what happened in that showdown, and we spend several episodes with backstory.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not interested in the wolves and Abby, unless they somehow create a way for a lot more empathy for her character, which
that's
I
what
don't
it's
have
for.
any.
That's what it's for, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it's for. I'm not sure if I'm going to have patience for them to get there unless it starts immediately in the first episode.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that were not clear to us as viewers about what was happening with the Wolves or with Abby's faction in the Wolves. Remember the leader of the Wolves saying, her team has gone missing. I think we'll find out in the first couple of episodes why they went missing, what's going on there and all of that. So I think they're trying to give you some background and bring you up to a level where you understand Abby as well as you understand Ellie when they come back to their confrontation, I think.
Yeah, I know that is the intent because I do watch the after episode stuff.
Okay.
The showrunner talked about that. I was just going to Kevin's question about, am I going to stick with this show in the future? Because I totally understand that in this game, they are forcing you to take the perspective of the two opposing sides. It's just whether I'm going to be interested in how they do it in a TV show. You had mentioned it before about the idea that, wishing that Joel hadn't died. I don't see how you can. I mean, that's so fundamental to Ellie's story. I mean, that's the reason she goes to Seattle.
Right. I was hoping they wouldn't go to Seattle. I was hoping they would do something totally different. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping they'd do an alternate universe version of Last of Us, basically.
Okay.
Since there's so many game players who know exactly what's happening and what's going to happen,
Oh, sure.
All right. Well, if you want to talk about that, let us know. Kevin is going to talk about a couple of movies he's recently seen on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I want to touch on, as Brent said, two of them. One of them Wendy had seen a couple months ago and recommended The Gorge with my Apple TV subscription. Now, I was one of the first things I wanted to see because that one looked very interesting to me. And I got to say, I really enjoyed that. That went by. It's one of those movies, that was just over in the blink of an eye to me because I was very engaged with the story. I thought the acting, the cast there is very strong. The idea of these two different people who have to basically monitor this gorge that they don't understand why, and we come to find out with the creatures, shall we say, that are living in there, since they both end up being down in it through part of the storyline. But I like I say, this was a very interesting genre take with some characters I cared about and their relationship and what happened to them. So definitely a big thumbs up if you have Apple TV Plus and haven't seen it. By all means, I'd give it a very solid, probably high watch it soon or low watch it now.
Yeah, definitely. I had talked about this, I think, on the show, but we definitely talked about it in the Discord too. And one of the things that I really liked about this story was the two actors. They had great chemistry. I mean, I would totally watch a sequel with them in it.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. And with Sigourney Weaver in here as kind of the bad guy, if you will, or the government type. She was really good in that role.
Yeah, she was.
So yeah, this was quite enjoyable. So if you get a chance to check it out, please do. The other one I saw recently, you folks may have been seeing the promotions for it because they've definitely put a lot of money into it, advertising it in lots of places, is The Fountain of Youth. This is the movie with John Krasinski and Natalie Portman and Asa Gonzalez. And, we joked here between the three of us, and I think even on the Discord a little bit, that this was probably only genre adjacent. Now that's, if you're searching for The Fountain of Youth, you're going to have a movie where someone doesn't find it. Let's face it, probably not. So that's why it does technically qualify, as genre, if you're wondering. But again, as I said with my 2 minute, the genre this is in, the action adventure, the bit of the Indiana Jones style, I enjoyed it. Is it great? No. I mean, a lot of people are going to like it as much as I did. Probably not, because again, I do kind of give a pass or a lower bar to these type films. They made a choice from a character point of view to include a child, if you will, in the story, a son to the Natalie Portman character, which I guess I kind of get from a narrative point of view. He helped out figuring out some of the puzzles, but it just kind of created an odd dynamic to me. Going on some very dangerous expeditions, and he's coming right along right there. So that was a little out of place. But I mean, otherwise the actors that are in it are good. The dialogue wasn't too bad. They could have another adventure chasing after some other artifact or item there, and I think the leads would be very good. So it's an enjoyable film. It's not a great one. It's definitely not as good as The Gorge, but if you're looking for whatever it was, 95 minutes or so of entertainment, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a Guy Ritchie movie, which those sometimes can string on too long. This one didn't really, but I do know what you mean about the kid, because it was like, can't really hand wave how much danger you're putting this child in. They tried to make light of it when the first time he goes off with the person who's supposed to be keeping him out of danger, and he keeps telling him, "Don't tell your mother that this happened." And as soon as they meet her, he immediately spills the beans of everything that happened. That was supposed to be like the humor offsetting it, but I was like, I don't know if I'm entirely on board with that. But, the leads were good, but it definitely is very, very minimally genre.
Yeah, the genre aspect is a pretty small part of it. But I mean, again, because it's a Guy Ritchie movie, I mean, the action parts were well done, the visuals, cinematography and all. It's, it's definitely a very professional production. So it looks good,
Oh yeah, it's a thrill ride. You'll get nauseous in the car, just like Natalie Portman does.
Yeah, so yeah, it's for me, I'd say it's a recommendation, but it's a qualified one that don't be looking to have your socks blown off by something really like The Gorge.
Yeah, I would watch The Gorge first for sure.
Absolutely, yes.
That's probably what I'll do if I get Apple TV Plus then. Excellent. All right. Well, we want to talk a bit about Doctor Who. We did have the season finale, and as it turns out, the finale for Ncuti Gatwa as well. So he's no longer going to be the Doctor. That's what we are led to believe, and we're led to believe in a very strange sort of regeneration that Billie Piper is going to be his replacement. There's a lot of people out there in the Doctor Who world saying, "Hold your horses, don't worry. That's only kind of going to be a kind of a temporary thing, kind of like David Tennant was for a while, and it's not necessarily the final form or something like that. It was just put there to make everybody go, oh my God." I don't know. Maybe she will. I wouldn't mind seeing Billie Piper try to take on the role. I think that would be kind of cool. We know that the Doctor has in the past taken the form of people he has met before, right? We've seen that in a couple of cases, both in Old Who and New Who. But we did get an appearance by Jodie Whittaker, which I thought was okay. A lot of people, I saw her. Some people, even on our Discord, say that they didn't really like it, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was kind of a multi-doctor. We've had the traditional multi-doctor episodes. Having another doctor appear is not necessarily, out of this world. It's the kind of thing that has happened before. And she was there to give some advice and to listen, and I think that it fit pretty well. It was kind of a shocker to see a doctor that wasn't from the new show, from the showrunner's time, but we've done that before with older doctors, so that's not a big surprise to me. But the one thing I will say about the finale, though, is I think, and I've mentioned this before, I mentioned this about Last of Us to some degree, but it was rushed. I didn't like it. I didn't like how fast it was. It was low watch it now territory for me, so it was good. But my real nit with it is I think just how rushed it was. And the second thing I don't like about it is, now keep in mind, let me back up. Russell T. Davies did the David Tennant departure. Remember that he did that over several special episodes, and we knew David Tennant was leaving this whole time, and there were some very emotional moments, and in his final episode was very touching in a lot of ways. And then finally it ended with him like in tears saying, I don't want to go. It hit you. It hit you, the David Tennant departure. The Ncuti Gatwa, they were trying to make that powerful, I think. They were trying to give us that same sense of this great doctor is being forced to leave, to save the universe, essentially. I just didn't feel the weight. I think Russell T. Davies is kind of failing in that in the 2 seasons he's done so far, where he tells us in writing, this is very emotional and impactful and you must feel this. And we're like, but we don't, because you didn't build it up to the point where we can really feel it. So I think that's one of the reasons I dinged it a little bit, was I saw what he was trying to do. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Ncuti Gatwa as a doctor. I enjoyed him a lot. He was a great doctor. He was fun. He was crazy. He was different. But he was still the doctor. So I loved it. But I just didn't feel that sense of that I felt with like David Tennant leaving. And David Tennant's not my favorite doctor. So I can't necessarily say that either. But it was good. It was good. I actually, like I said, kind of excited. I hope they do keep Billy Piper around for a while. I wonder if the people who are saying no, that's not going to happen are right or not. But I hope they do, because I kind of want to see what'll happen. With the one character that, at least in the first regeneration of the show, was an actual love interest of the Doctor. Of course, we've had a couple since, but I'd be interested to see how the Doctor would deal with looking like the person that the Doctor loved. So I'm kind of really looking forward to that. I don't know what'll happen. But I can't say much about the Interstellar Song Contest and Wishworld. Wishworld was just a build up for the final episode. And like I said, it was kind of rushed, and Interstellar Song Contest was almost a filler episode, if you will. Back to that topic. So, I think it was okay. Season 1 and Season 2 have been okay. I think it could have been better, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, and in a similar way, I would say, for me, the past 2 seasons have been enjoyable, but not memorable, like Tennant and some of the stuff that happened there. So along the same lines, I greatly enjoyed the Doctor and the companions we've had the past 2 seasons. I think the dynamics have worked great. The chemistry, the actors, the story bits that went with them, quite enjoyable. It's quite good there. And the 2-part finale, again, we talked about it, as you said, Brent, on the Discord. It was 2-partitis, as many shows have, where the first part of it is, slow and building, and then the second one is just frantic. And that's really what it felt like. But that also kind of matched the energy of this Doctor, too. Not in a bad way, but things were just always, he can't stand still. And that's not bad. It's just personality and the way he brought the character to life. So I enjoyed it, certainly. But I think a big part of why I enjoyed the finale was for all of the fact that there was a regeneration. I didn't know that coming into it. The fact that we got to see Jodie Whittaker, the fact that, we got Billy Piper's face on there for a bit as to whether or not it sticks or not. It's still memorable. So, that had a lot of good entertainment parts to it for doing that. So in that sense, it succeeded. So I'll be very curious where we go from here. Like you said, I've seen some of it. I haven't read deep on it because I'm not deep into the Who universe things, but I've seen the people making their case for why there's no way it could be Billy Piper permanently. And fine. That maybe just give us a little bit of fun stuff to speculate on, but, enjoyable by all means, but not perfect.
Yeah, definitely not perfect. I'm very disappointed that we're getting another Doctor so soon. I think part of the reason why we were so emotional about David Tennant leaving was because he'd been the Doctor for a lot longer. We'd traveled a lot further with him than we have with Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor. And I really do like his Doctor a lot. And I didn't love Ruby as the companion. I think I liked Belle more. until this whole Poppy baby twist part, I totally agree. I think there was just too many things going on, and the pacing was kind of a mess. The thing with Mrs. Flood and the Ronnies felt, I would say, undercooked. The Omega, it's like it popped out of its tunnel for 5 minutes and got pushed back in. It's like, why? Why did we have... I mean, there was just some parts that just went too fast. And then, the whole Wish thing and Conrad and that was like, I don't know. I wasn't that interested in that story to begin with, and then we went back to it. It's just the things that were the anchors just weren't. They just weren't. I don't know. They just didn't grab me as much as other doctor stories. Seeing Billie Piper's face was definitely a surprise. I loved that Jodie Whittaker's doctor came back and was, instrumental in helping him, adjust the timeline. Seeing her just reinforced to me that it was the writing that failed in her turn as the doctor and not the actor portraying the character. I mentioned earlier that, I like Kate and Colonel Sexy in Unit, and maybe they'll be in the spinoff. The one thing I did really like was that Anita came back, and that was probably one of my favorite episodes of the season, was the Time Hotel. And, I felt like he had a real connection with her. The other thing that was disappointing was, often when the doctor's going to regenerate, he'll have scenes, he had a scene with Belinda where he's telling her, we might meet again, but I won't look like this. And the whole change to the timeline that puts Poppy, restores her. In a lot of ways, it was reminding me of when Moffat had to come up with an explanation for Clara, and they kind of retconned that she's been around forever. And that flashback that they did where they basically rewrote every one of those conversations where Belle is saying, I need to be back. Now she keeps saying, because of my kid. And the problem is, they were like implying that had always been true. And it's like, that wasn't true. We heard that never was said. So, something just didn't work for me in that. It was probably the most emotional part for me was Ruby watching as they handed the coat back and forth, and her realizing that Poppy's being, forgotten as they keep going back and forth. But that's kind of the ding that I have overall is, I just think we didn't have enough time with these characters to have those same emotional connections like Tennant, for instance, or Matt Smith.
I think, let me just say this. One thing that one reason I kind of hope that Billie Piper will hang around for a little while is I want the scene where Kate looks at her and calls her Rose and says, what are you doing here? I just want that. I just want that scene.
Yeah.
I agree with you on Anita. I was so happy to see her back. And she had a pivotal role. She broke the fake reality. Which, by the way, the whole flashbacks to, our companion talking about needing to get home for her daughter. I don't think they were trying to make us believe that really happened. I think they were trying to show that was time changing. That time had changed because of all of the changes to reality that had happened. But I'm a little upset that how they treated Anita. They could have had her come back and save the day and been the hero like she was. But why did they have to do the bit where they told us that she was trying to find the doctor, and then she finally found the doctor and saw that he was in love with somebody else, and she's like, "Oh well, I'll just go back to this other guy and have his baby." It's like, what? I didn't get that. Maybe I interpreted that wrong, but that sounded so insulting and degrading to this character. It's like, what? Why was she? I could understand if she really liked the doctor. I thought they parted as really good friends. I didn't know they parted with her having a bit of a romantic interest. But even if they had, the way they phrased that and did that in the episode just kind of made me shake my head and go, "Come on, Davis, you're better than this. Why do you not know how to write?" I'm going to be politically incorrect now. Do you not know how to write a heterosexual relationship, Davis? Because that doesn't make any sense to me that she would be trying to follow him, see that he's in love with somebody else, and go, "Okay, well, I guess I'll go to my second best choice, this hotel manager or whatever this guy is, and I'll have his baby." I mean, what? Hello?
Well, again, and another piece of a final episode that had so many things in so many directions. It's just sometimes hard to make it all
rushed.
work.
Yeah, it was just rushed.
Yeah. There's just too much in it, and I did. Because when it was over, I was like, "Is this real?" So I was like, I gotta see some hot takes about what just happened. So then I actually saw on the Doctor Who official website, Judy Gatwa talking about this was always the plan, was he was in it for two seasons, and physically he really couldn't continue, at the level of, exertion stunts that they do on the show. But I also saw one of the reactors talking about this was Disney, because Disney hadn't very quickly sort of put a plan in place for what was coming, because supposedly Russell Davies had a plan that there'd be 4 seasons with him, but he's a high demand actor. So it's like, if you don't lock him down, he's going to move on. And he did. So, there's some speculation about, the rose face is, I'll just call it a placeholder, which would be a little bit annoying because it's kind of the same thing that they did with Tennant the last time.
Yeah,
so
where's Tennant, by the way? He's still out there.
Yeah.
They bioregenerated. He's still there. He's still the Doctor. He can regenerate as well, become another Doctor. I mean, what's going on there? I'm confused. Or maybe he can't. Maybe they determined that he's going to live a normal life. I don't remember.
No, I think he's going to live a normal life now.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, by the way,
because that's why he went to live with Donna.
Yeah. But he does have a TARDIS, because remember, they split the TARDIS too.
Yep, he does. Yeah.
I think the plan with Judy Gatwa has been around since he was wrapping up his first year, because that's when I heard from Who Culture, the YouTube channel and webpage, and then found a lot of other reputable sources talking about how they knew at that point that he was leaving after 2 years. So it's been a while that they've known. It didn't just suddenly happen.
Yeah, so even all the more reason to give him better writing than that.
I agree. And can I just say for a second, again, I'm going to be politically incorrect, but what a wimp compared to other actors who played the Doctor. Come on, Judy. You have much smaller seasons than, say, David Tennant did, and you can only do 2 years. It was too physically demanding. Come on, man.
I'm not going to call anybody out. Everyone's health is their own.
I know. I just heard that the too physically demanding thing, and I'm like, what?
Well,
on the video, he said his knees were shot.
Yeah, maybe it's a physical.
Okay.
Yeah, might be a physical limitation just for him as an actor being able to do such
energetic stuff. Yeah.
Stuff, yeah. I mean, maybe there. So I won't knock him there. But again, I mean,
okay.
As you said, I mean, Tennant. I just did a quick Google search while we're all talking. Was in, this is to be believed here in the summary, 47 episodes, and our new Doctor was only in 20. So getting an emotional level anywhere near that, it's kind of hard to do in such a short period of time, episode-wise.
Yeah.
So why does Davis write it like we should have that emotional attachment? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, I know. It's like you said, you're taking a thought process and trying to flip a switch to make it emotional. And it can't be. I mean, that person hasn't been around that long from within the story. But, it doesn't mean they won't try.
Did you have more thoughts, Wendy? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, nope.
Okay.
I am intrigued what they'll do with Rose, Bad Wolf.
Yeah, me too. All right, we're going to wrap up here, probably briefly, but I don't know how Kevin's going to treat it, with the librarians.
Yeah, maybe we'll say semi-briefly, because I know Wendy hasn't seen the show yet. If you've listened to a few podcasts or more, we all were big fans of the original The Librarian series, so there's been some excitement for this new one, but also some, hey, can it live up to it? Is it going to be just a small shell of what the original was? So I thought they did a very good job in the first 2 episodes. Because Dean Devlin, the original show creator, is involved and realizes, and talked a little bit about in that interview I mentioned earlier, understanding how you have to try to establish some new characters, let them be themselves enough that if you enjoy the concept of the library, the fact seeing a new librarian and team can stand on its own. And I think the actors that are involved are doing a good job. I think we've got a little bit of a tease of some backstories for, our guardian, Charlie, for our new librarian who's 200 years out of time. And you've got the other characters involved naturally that, so we say a believer in magic and a non-believer, but distinctive enough that they have to find a way to work together. So it was, I thought, a good start. We've got ones that were kind of interested in learning more. They did a good job bridging the shows by bringing the Jacob Stone character in from the first show to kind of, explain some things and the foundation of why all of a sudden they had a new librarian involved and how they have to take care of the problems they've now created in this area by letting magic out again. So, I think it's off to a good start. I didn't rate either of the episodes like watch it now. It wasn't like wow, look at this one. But, as I recall, when the original librarian show started, it took them a little while to kind of find their footing, certainly for me to very much fall in love with that group of characters. But so far, they got me interested. And I want to learn a little more and spend a little time with them. So kudos to doing what you need to do to get it off the ground.
Yeah, I think I'll give it the highest compliment I can give it, Kevin, which is I don't notice a difference. It seems like the librarians to me. It has the same feel. I think my average quick review rating for the librarians was probably watch it soon. And that's kind of how I feel about this show. It's entertaining. I wouldn't put it on the back burner and let it sit. I would definitely watch it soon. But it's not the world's greatest thing. It's just, it's good. I'm going to use words that make it sound like it's bad, but good formulaic entertainment. Not in a bad way. It has a structure to it, story of the week sort of structure, which we all thrived on for decades for that kind of storytelling. And I'm fine with it. It fits really well in this universe. So, yeah, I think they did a great job. It feels like the librarians to me.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it now based on your comments.
Yeah, I think once the newness part of kind of holding my breath of can it be anywhere near as good as the original now is past, and they've got a shot at it, is will it develop with this group of librarians and protectors and all, and the stories, can they still come up with interesting artifacts? And as you said, the formula, the artifact of the week, along with some other through storylines. You're going to have to wait to see, but they've definitely got me on board to want to find out, which I think is the job of the first couple episodes of a show. So let's see how it progresses.
And I think this new Guardian, she is a good successor to Rebecca Romaine. I think she's doing a really good job. Yeah,
they've done a good job too with teasing a bit of her backstory, and that's going to be important. And physically, the actress was the lead in The Outpost, which is a show I watched and enjoyed. So I think she can carry some of the physical aspects of what will be involved in protecting the librarian too. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's set up to succeed. Let's see if it's able to.
Yep, definitely. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thanks for tuning in as usual. And thank you to Kevin and Wendy for being here. I'll catch you next time.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon. Have a great week.
If you'd like to contact us here at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a wide variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, our voicemail at 706-927-8478, on Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our website at tuningintoscifitv.com to find the link to our forums or to use the SpeakPipe widget to leave us a voice message. You can also find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi or on Facebook at facebook.com/tuningintosci-fi TV.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 673, recorded June 2nd, 2025.